Welcome back to the shop. Today we have a knife that I made um, about a year or two ago, and belongs to a customer, obviously, and he's a hog hunter, and he wants me to sharpen it. That's one of the things that I offer with every knife that I make is warranty for life and free sharpening for life. So this is going to be a really cool thing to see because this knife, uh, it's been 1 year. So he, in 1 year, he has killed and skinned and butchered 3 or 4 hogs with this, wild Florida hogs, and it has never been touched. He has not sharpened it. So it's going to be interesting to see what one of my knives looked like after a year of use and having never been sharpened. So this is my 4-inch Hunter. The handle is Hawaiian Koa. The steel is AEBL, which is a stainless. AEBL is a really, really good steel. For years, people thought of it as kitchen knife steel, but it is, to me, my favorite all-around steel. Especially if you live down here in the heat and humidity, and you spend time in the swamp. Everybody loves carbon knives, but they can rust before your eyes down here. So AEBL is just great, great stuff. So let's take a look at this edge. I don't know what you're going to be able to see. There you go. See that shiny spot? Anytime you look down the length of an edge, you should be able to roll it in the light like this. And if anything, the edge should turn black. If you roll your edge through the light and you get shiny spots, those are burrs or a rolled edge. Can you see that? Anything that you can see reflecting light on an edge, that's a dull spot. So it looks to me, just from a visual inspection, yeah, this area down here is nice. Because honestly, you don't use this part of your edge all that much, except for draw cutting through rope and, if you really get down on something. The forward half of your edge normally does all of the work. And chances are this is from going around joints to part the tendons and running it up against the bones. So I'm going to use my fingernail and I'm going to scratch against the edge, right? Because if this edge is rolled over at all, if you look at my fingers, if it's rolled over at all, I should be able to pick that up with my thumbnail. And that's all smooth. There we go. Right there. Can you hear it? Clean, clean, clean. Definite. Clean, clean, clean. Definite rolled edge. So this knife really, I had skinned out 3 hogs and he's just starting to roll the edge to where it's getting a little tough to cut. Me personally, I keep a little small pocket stone in my pack. In fact, here's one right here. These things are awesome. This is called a DMT diafold. Dia meaning diamond and fold because it folds, right? You notice that it has a red side and a green side. Red, this is a fine, and the green is extra fine. When it comes to diamond stones, you do not need coarses and mediums. Unless you're doing, axes and tools and stuff like that. If you keep up with your knife at all, a fine and an extra fine and a diamond stone is going to do everything you need to do. Now, I'm not going to use this right now, but I'm just showing you that I keep one of these in my pack. When I'm out camping, when I'm on the river, whatever. Just a couple passes on this thing is going to knock that burr off. I mean, it would knock that burr right off and bring that edge right back to screaming sharp. This knife is not even dull. I mean, it's dull from my perspective because I think you ought to be able to shave with your knife. But, all this knife really needs is a dressing up. And we're going to put a new edge on it and give him another year where he doesn't have to touch it at all. because that's what you pay for with a custom knife. So I'm not just going to dress it up. I'm actually going to give him a whole new edge, top to bottom, the way that it went out of here brand new. Because that's what you're paying for. We're going to do the sharpening on my KMG belt maker's grinder here. We're going to start off with, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is it's kind of a weave. If you look at it, looks like a fiberglass weave. Can you see the reflections in that? Anyway, what this is a really worn out Trizac structured belt. This is not the Gator belt, but it's still a Trizac. I bought this by accident for doing bevels a long time ago. I never really did care for doing bevels, but it is a dynamite sharpening belt. So this is pretty much a worn out 220 belt. We're gonna take all that burr off, refine that edge, get a new burr at 220, and then we will put on a 600 bit grit belt, which is also worn out, but that's all that you need to polish the edge on a knife blade. And let's get started. All right, get the knife. Now it's important to note the edge that I put on these knives. People will say, well, what angle should I use on my knife? You can use any angle you want. When it comes to sharpening, I'm a big believer in going too sharp, because it's just, so what? You know, when I use a knife, I want it to cut. And if the edge won't quite hold up, if let's say the particular knife you have, you go too thin on the edge and it just won't stay sharp very long, well, next time you sharpen it, don't go quite that thin. It's that simple. But I just don't believe in putting a dull edge on a knife so that it stays less dull longer. Does that make any sense? I don't see the point. When you get into custom knives with steel like AEBL, this is not the stuff that you get at Walmart, okay? You can put a screaming edge on this knife, and because the hardness that it will take, the durability, the wear resistance, the edge retention abilities, you can put a scary sharp edge on this knife and it is going to keep it for a long time. Like I said, when this knife is done, forget shaving sharp, it's going to wipe the hair off your arm silently. And he has skinned out 3 or 4 hogs with this thing over a year's time, has never even touched up the edge in a year. What's that tell you? You don't have to worry about it, right? Buy good knives and take care of them. They'll last your lifetime. But don't be afraid of putting a really, really sharp edge on your knife. You know, just don't. A lot of people ask what angle I believe that you should sharpen your knife to. A numeric angle, right? A geometrical angle where people say, I believe in a 12-degree edge, a 15-degree, whatever. That came about with the Lansky style sharpeners, because that's what you're relegated to, right? It's a fixed vertical, right? With the tangent angle coming off of it, where your blade is fixed like this and you are sharpening at a given angle. And that's great. They are awesome systems. But back in the day when everybody just had a sharpening stone, do you think they really knew what angle they were sharpening to? No, they didn't, right? You sharpened it as fine as the edge would take, you know, as fine an edge as you could get on that knife. And if the edge didn't hold up, well, you just kind of went less sharp next time, or less acute on the angle next time to give it a more durable edge. So there's another kind of angle that I do because I use a belt, and it's called a convex edge. So rather than your knife edge being like this or like this for a kitchen knife, right? This one is kind of rolled. When I say rolled, instead of just being a pure wedge, it has more of an axe grind to it, and it's called a convex edge. So as you can see, you get a really sharp cutting point, but you've got a lot more steel behind the edge. And that's why this edge has held up for a year and 3 or 4 hogs. I love convex edges. You know, horses for courses, right? Some people don't like them, but then it's just a knife, man. Just put the edge on it that you like. Um, I have never seen an application where I did not like a convex edge, right? Unless you're talking about straight razors, in which case, you know, that's kind of non-applicable, right? But for hunting knives, kitchen knives, pocket knives, I convex everything. It lasts forever. It's hair popping sharp. What's not to like?